Close. Live. Testing. Is audio low? Nope. Microphone far away. All right. Bring microphone closer to face. Too many windows open. Put you away so you can right in my face. So we can try different gains here. Test, test, test. Check, check, check. Go to the next one. Check, check, check. Test, test, test. Sounds the same. Check, 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 check. So that one sounds better. And last one. Check, check, test, test, test. I don't know. We'll go with this. Alrighty. How do I sound to all of you fine people? Do I sound okay? Oh, noon. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. We'll give it some time for people to filter in. How's the audio sounding? Those of you who are currently watching. We'll pull the microphone down closer. The dulcet tones of Matt Goins. Okay. Yeah, I pulled the mic closer. I have a weirdly shaped, I shouldn't say weirdly shaped room, it's shaped like a room, but I have a weirdly placed desk. So if I put my microphone up, I have an arm stand thingy. If I put my microphone up, it has to compete with my voice echoing off the wall. But if I bring it closer, less competition. But then it's like kind of right in my face, so I have to adjust it just right. Unmute self. Look at stream. Bring up correct pages. Okay. What do we got for viewers? 12 now? Okay. We'll slowly ease into this. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Goins. For those of you who uh, aren't familiar with me, I am the trainer on the WiscWeb team. I do support, user experience, content strategy, jack of all trades kind of thing, except for developer. And this is our monthly lunch and learn, our October lunch and learn. We did not do a September one. We just didn't have a whole lot going on last month. A lot of things were being pushed back to this month. We were going to do a theme update last month, but we kind of pushed some things off from that because we had some things that we were working on. So obviously, I emailed out this morning, and we have the theme update to 1.16.0, and we'll kind of touch on some of those things and demo them a little bit. Demo is not probably not the right word, but just kind of show off some of them. We can demo one of them, and then talk a little bit about some accessibility stuff with Gravity Forms, just to make you all aware of what some of those things are, and then our general reminders afterwards. I'm flying somewhat solo today. Phil's in the voice chat with me, and if he has anything to say, he'll pop up. But no Jenna today. She is out. So I'll try and watch the chat as closely as I can while I'm also presenting. So if you do have questions, please feel free to throw them in there, and I will try to get to them as quickly as possible. So let's do a quick scene swap here. Oh, there we go. So, I guess first things first to touch on, we'll go through the Gravity Forms update first, just so I can get that one out of the way, and then we can kind of focus in on what the theme updates were for this go around. So one of the things that we've been working on with WiscWeb is trying to make sure that all of the various things that we use, be it theme related, plugin related, um, um, any additions that we make to it, we want to make sure that those things are more accessible. And in light of that, one of the struggles that we had is some of the things that Gravity Forms and the UW theme did not do together very well. And so we worked on some of that stuff, and you can kind of see in the update that I sent out, um, Gravity Forms themselves, the plugin, did update to a more accessible version. There is a legacy version that exists, but, and I'll get into that in a second. Um, but much of what you would have seen with the Gravity Forms accessibility functionality is done for you. We also cleaned up a little bit of the Gravity Forms view as well. So, for example, Gravity Forms has its own style that it applies to the fonts in there. Um, the update now shows a more readable uh, font style. Also, if you remember, we had a few people who pointed this out to us, but we wanted to make sure that um, we we mentioned this for everybody. These buttons used to be offset. I'm sorry, not these buttons. These radio values used to be offset. So you'd have your radio button right here, and then the text would be, you know, offset below it over here, and that just made difficulty for um, knowing that you were selecting the right one. These are now lined up much more than they were in the past, and so we're happy about that. However, one of the things that we do want you all to be aware of, and to also go in and check on your own, because I know a number of you who get in touch with us are our regular crowd of WiscWeb folks. A lot of you use Gravity Forms, so I want you to be aware of the fact that there is a setting that you want to go in and check to make sure that your forms that you have currently created, that you have currently existing, I should say, are set to this new value. So what you can do is, if you go into your forms, um, let's choose, I'll just do test form, for example. Existing form, go to settings and form settings. And if you scroll on down, what you'll have now is an option that is enable legacy markup. This may be active on some of your forms. If you want it to be the newer, more accessible view, you want to set that to be off so that you can take advantage of these new accessibility values, or these new accessibility settings, I should say. Um, we couldn't confirm whether or not this thing happens automatically. Um, some had, some hadn't. It was weird. So I just want to make it something that you all go in and check on your own. Go in, go to the settings for the form, go down to the options, make sure that the enable legacy markup is set to off. And that way your form will be set to more accessible. So that's the first thing to sort of point out there with the Gravity Forms update. The other thing to be aware of is when you have a form that you are using, let me get rid of some of this stuff here. Get rid of the paging. Thank you. Okay. If you add an advanced field of a date picker, And this, we noticed this specifically out of the date picker, but you might want to go in, if you have any others that are um, uh, that that you want to check on. You'll notice over here on the right, the date picker is not accessible for users. Um, so specifically, this type of date functionality is not accessible. So what you want to do is you either want to do a date drop down. Right, Rich, you want it off. We don't want you to allow the legacy markup. That will make it accessible. So this part didn't happen automatically. That much we know for certain. If you have a date function in any of your forms, the date picker is not an accessible value. So you want to change it to either the date field or the date dropdown. And that will make that field accessible for um, specifically keyboard users. So again, I'm not sure if any others. I haven't stumbled across any, but you'll notice with the date picker, there is this message that does let you know that it is flagged as an accessibility concern. So update, and there's that. So those were. Let me look at my notes. Look at my notes from Jenna. Sorry. Yeah. So form settings disable the enable legacy markup option. Check this for existing forms. Some fields may have the additional accessibility notes, which I just showed. With these things all changed, your forms become much more accessible for your audience. So, okay. So that was the uh, specifically the gravity forms thing that we wanted to touch on. So let's talk a little bit about the new things that came with the UW theme update. So, first things first, we just touched on the updated styles for accessibility for gravity forms. The next thing, and this is something that people have been looking for quite some time, and I actually did implement it on our updated news post out here, is we now have the ability to add a related posts option to a specific post that you create. So what you have the opportunity to do now is if you have, posts, news articles, blogs, anything of that nature that follow a particular theme, you can, and it's manual, but you can add up to 3 additional related posts. I don't have any featured images on these, but you can put a featured image next to it. You can have the excerpt there as well as the post date. So, that being said, let's take a look at how this works. I have many of my posts here. Let me publish this guy. Okay, go back to post now. So what you'll see is when you add a new post, and with existing posts as well, but I'm going to add a new post with this. So let's say Matt Goins featured on October lunch and learn. Drop in a little lorem too. Okay. And then below there, you have the related post section. So remember that these things are drag and drop. Do so ever so carefully. But if your related posts option is down further than you want it to be, you can move it around as you so desire. Just watch out because you can accidentally put it over here on the side, and that has thrown off many people when this new functionality of um, our advanced fields and WordPress came out. I should call it advanced. This new functionality came out. So, anyways, right below there you have your options. You can have a maximum of three. Um, we had to set it. We were sort of following news.wis.edu's example with this, so we're setting it to three basically because, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want you to overwhelm a post with 30 related posts. I mean, there's just, you're losing the point of having like an archive or a post list or anything like that. Um, so we wanted to give you an option, but not so much that it becomes overwhelming to the audience. Um, you can choose whether or not you want to post display. You want your post to display the featured image, whether you want them to display the published dates, whether you want them to display the excerpts, and then you can choose which ones you want. So, for example, I'll add that one. I'll add that one, and I'll add. Let's go with this one here, just for the giggles. And that's really it. It's that straightforward. I'll click publish on this guy. And wait and view it. And scroll down. And there you can see that's what it will look like with the featured images also available. Again, right now this is only something that exists with posts, not with any other um, type of functionality that we have within the UW theme. Any questions on that end? Right, seeing none. Next thing I want to touch on is, let's go back into the dashboard. What's the next thing I want to touch on? The larger images for the image gallery. So this is something that a group brought up to us where um, the image gallery didn't give you really an option to show a larger file sized image, a larger resolution image, I should say. It would always default to the medium image. And so if you had an image of, say, these aren't the best images for this example, but you can kind of see how this one is a little bit smaller than this one. Um, now what the theme does is it defaults to the larger version of these particular images rather than the medium version of those particular images. And again, the example that we had was if you have some sort of diagram or layout of something and you click on this and the image is too small to actually do justice to like the values that are in the diagram, there was no way to really show the larger image in the image gallery. You'd have to use like a text block or something of that nature to show that off. So what we did was we updated the image gallery value to now show the larger version of that. So that's just kind of like an oversight on our end to make sure that um, we address that specifically. Let's see. Post list. Oh, and then the last one, I can't demo it really well because of the fact that um, we fixed it. But in the featured content block, what used to happen is um, if you had an image linked in a featured content block and the image was smaller than the space there, it would take that image. So think of your thumbnail icons, your material design icons. So this is the example that I had where here is an unlinked version of the image, and then here are two linked versions. I took this screenshot on, I think it was Monday when I was just tinkering around because I wanted to be able to show this. But this is how it looked before. This is how it looked after it was linked, and that was rough, really. But now it looks, too many windows open. So now it looks like this. These are linked and they work or they look as expected. So it's just a nice way to use. You don't have to have gigantic. I shouldn't say gigantic. You don't have the larger. You don't have to have the larger sized images in here if you have a good resolution image to put in there to make for the featured content block. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here with this is just kind of using these as icons for it. There. Okay. Those are the theme updates. Any questions on any of that stuff? And then also the Gravity Forms accessibility thing. Um, if people are asking questions, go ahead. I'm trying to think of what else we have firing up lately with the team. I feel like this is going to be a quick lunch and learn, a light lunch and learn, because really the only thing that we really had to talk about was the theme update. Um, nope, not that. I need to bring up the knowledge base because I'll touch on the other things that we want to touch on. All right, so let's just kind of do a few reminder things here. So obviously, we have added a few things to the theme. We continue to try to respond as best as we can the um, with the resources that we have, with the time that we have with developers and with marketing. But one of the things that I want to encourage everyone to do is to take a look at the WiscWeb feature request board. So I will drop that there and take a look at that, and also think about whether or not you want to upvote any of those items that other people have requested, or if there's something that you want to see added to the theme, go ahead and create a new issue and fill it out as best as you can. The I'll put the knowledge base stock in the chat as well. This kind of walks through like what you should do um, to join, or I'm sorry, not to join it, to create it, what kind of formatting we're looking for. But like for example, the featured post things, or I'm sorry, the related post things, it's there. We just basically put it out there to make sure that it's something that people could add and use. Are there any are there any improvements that you would like to see to it? Let us know through the feature request board, so that way we can have our developers dig into it a little bit and see. So, and some of these things we know that they are requests. So, the option to protect pages to net IDs, boy, we know that's a request. It's something that we really want to get to eventually. It's just tricky with the way that our service is set up with authentication. So we know it, we want to do it. We really have to figure out the best and I guess safest way to do that kind of thing. So, but otherwise, yeah, take advantage of that, please. We really want to meet your needs. Let's see. Daga daga daga. The community of practice, the WordPress users group. I'll throw this in here. Rich is also in the chat as well, but we do have the Teams channel for the WiscWeb users community of practice group. Very good conversations go on in there. Lots of back and forth, lots of recommendations, lots of suggestions, lots of requests for feedback. So go take advantage of that. Myself and Jenna are also in there, and we'll respond when we can to any questions, and we'll communicate through it as well. For example, when we had some service issues a couple months ago, that was one of the ways we were communicating with folks because email was um, struggling as well that day. So, um, uh, so Phil just put something in there as well. So, so yeah, the community of practice, excellent place to go for some information there. Another thing that I just want to throw out there as well, the UW design community. Some of you were at the first installment of that sort of um, presentation with Adam Hilsmeyer and Laura Grady. Um, Myself and Jenna are also kind of involved in that, and we'll be presenting some things as well for that design community stuff. It's really an effort to try and create best practices across campus when it comes to web design, when it comes to web contents delivery, when it comes to understanding users, things of that nature. Let's see. I don't know. I'm gonna unmute you, Phil. Would you like to say anything, Phil, about some of the things that you've been doing from a server side thing? Let people know about improvements that way.
Sure. Am I unmuted now?
You are.
Okay. Yeah, there's things we've been working on now for quite a while related to how SSL certificates are set up. And I think we're definitely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for that. There's some cool things with like how fast we can get sites set up, and how we can spend less time like just trying to maintain what's already there, just to get SSL on sites. The thing I had mentioned there in chat was just about how we're doing some reorganization of the way the Apache files and even so the main Apache config itself, as well as the htaccess files, are just set up and organized. So it's going to be easier to try to address some things like the NetID auth stuff in the future, and just making some improvements there. So it's more simple, and it's also more consistent from dev, QA, and prod, because we want to be able to try something out, not in production first. I think that maybe is all I have right now. There's always like some little things we're working on in the background with that, besides all the updates. And I think I forget what our percentage is exactly, but like there's a pretty good percentage of the work that Scott has been doing with getting CI/CD and GitLab set up, which also decreases our times for like how long is a patch out before we can put it on the server simply, and not wasting a lot of manual effort.
Yeah.
So there's some pretty cool stuff there.
So yeah, so this is kind of like under the hood type stuff, just so you guys can kind of get a hear and get a feel for. And I know some of it's a bit technical, and things that you won't see on the front end of WiscWeb and our service, but Phil mentioned Scott. Scott's our developer. Quite a bit of the work that he's been doing in the background is trying to automate a lot of our processes. Hey, there's Scott replying to something. Sorry. A lot of our processes to streamline the delivery of things like bug fixes, like plugin updates. Phil mentioned the certification handling and the process that we use for that, so that sites can get spun up faster, and more efficiently. So again, it's sort of under the hood. It's sort of technical, but we want you to know that like some of the things we do aren't visible to our user base, but they are happening in the background to make our life easier for your processes to be a lot easier as well. So just wanted to touch on that a little bit there. Gosh, I don't know. There's not much else to touch on for this month. I kept it sort of light because I didn't know how the theme release was going to go. Basically, we assume that everything's going to go smoothly. Thankfully, it did go very smoothly. For those of you who are not WiscWeb users, I believe Scott is going to be getting the version 1.1.16.0 out to the actual WordPress page, the UW theme page. So you'll be able to download it and install it, update it, I should say, sometime this morning or sometime yet this afternoon, I should say. Um, I don't know. Any other questions? Anything people want to ask to touch on? I don't want to just like leave it there. Next month we will have a lunch and learn for November. It will be let's see, November 11th. It looks like is our next lunch and learn. I had hoped to have John Nagler from the Office of Cybersecurity this month, but with Jenna being gone and today being a theme release day, I asked him to push back his presentation or his chat till next month. Basically, we kind of want to go through and present to all of you because it's a question that we get from time to time. It's something that we've stressed in the past. Um, Understanding sensitive or restricted data, what is considered sensitive or restricted data, how do you collect that type of stuff, should you, where should you, things of that nature. So we were going to have John present some of that information. And again, if any of you have any questions about security um, of your sites, go ahead and line those up, and we'll make sure we add those to our list so that he can touch on those as well. But that'll be the bulk of next month. I'm trying to think if we've got anything else going on. I don't know if we have any other updates coming that would be significant. No, nothing comes to mind. Okay. I feel like I should ask Phil to get his guitar to play us off. All right. Well, I guess we'll end it there. I'll stick around because I'm here, so I'll stick around. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and fire them over. But otherwise, thank you all for attending. I'm sorry it was brief. I'm sorry we didn't really have much more depth to it, but we had a theme release today. It went smoothly. We're very thankful for that. Um, yeah, what Rich just posted in there, show and tell presenter for October 27th this month. Um, yeah, the QR codes, that's a very interesting thing. I would really recommend people to take a look at that because um, a lot of groups are looking at ways because we're still sort of living in this virtual world where conferences and presentations and things of that nature are still not happening fully in person. Um, People have been going to like QR codes to make it easy for you to use your phone or use a mobile device to scan to lead people to a web page or a website with more information. And you can put QR codes on things like um, business cards, on flyers, on websites. You can put a QR code in a lot of different places and have it direct to a particular location. So I think that's a very fascinating thing to look at because of the fact that it opens up opportunities for you to use your web presence in a way that hasn't really been, at least for us, hasn't really been explored. And there are some opportunities there to take advantage of that. So on a chocolate bar, yes. So, yep. So that'll be. So again, I highly recommend you to join the Community of Practice Teams channel. Get to know all of us a little bit better. Get your questions either asked, answered, or answer some questions yourself. We're always looking for um, outside of the box type thinking when it comes to the way that websites are laid out and the way that things are delivered. I'm undergoing a somewhat interesting task of I'm trying to create the training section of the website to be more of like a curriculum type thing rather than just here are a bunch of videos. Like I'd like to figure out how to best have people follow a path to learn more about WordPress, the UW theme, and WiscWeb. So that's my task, and trying to do it in a little different manner than what I've done in the past. So good times. Okay. So we'll call it there. Thank you everybody for attending. Everybody stay safe. Have a great weekend. It's cool but sunny, so the weather is accommodating us all. So take care. Talk to everybody soon.